What's up, investors? Justin here. So today I will be talking about one very small EV stock that has started skyrocketing, and that stock is Arkamoto, ticker symbol FUV. Now FUV is up over 100% since Monday and does not show signs of slowing down. But even though I am focusing on Arkamoto in this video, that does not mean it is not the only small cap EV stock that has been hitting new highs. Two other EV stocks that have also started going on big runs are Solo and Ayro stock. Now, I talked about all three of these stocks extensively on my channel just a couple of months ago, so feel free to go and watch any of those videos. But for those of you who bought any of these three stocks when I recommended them and have held on to them until today, well, you have been richly rewarded. And yesterday, all three of these EV stocks were up big. FUV stock was up 69%, Ayro was up 45%, and Solo was up 39%. All of which happened again in a single day. So clearly these are three EV stocks that investors are watching closely. And the reason I think investors are targeting these specific EV stocks is because of their small size. Now, what's interesting is that not all EV stocks shot up on Thursday. Perennial favorite workhorse stock actually traded down on Thursday, while the three EV stocks I mentioned were all up big. So I want to discuss in this video why FUV stock in particular is skyrocketing right now, and I want to give you my opinion on the long-term chances of success for FUV stock. So make sure you watch all the way to the end and hit that like button so others can find this video. Also, if you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I am trying to get this channel to 5,000 subs by the end of the year, and it would mean a lot to me if you could help me out. So with that, let's get into the video. So first off, the reason I am choosing to highlight FUV stock in this video is because they have a lot of new updates that warrant me making a video. But there's also some new updates with Ayro and Solo. So if you guys enjoy this video, I can definitely make another video covering those two stocks. So comment below if you want me to do that. Now, getting back to Arkamoto, this company is so small that I actually pronounced their name wrong in the very first video I did on them. But thanks to commenters on that video, I now know that it is pronounced Arkamoto. And it's not surprising that I misspelled their name because even after a 637% run up over the past year, Arkamoto still has a market cap under $1 billion. However, one of the biggest catalysts for FUV stock was their Q3 earnings report, which was announced on Monday. So let's dive into that earnings report and see if we can determine what positive news caused Arkamoto's stock price to jump so much. First, let's look at Arkamoto's financials. Arkamoto reported $683,000 worth of revenue for Q3, which is a big jump considering they only reported a measly $33,000 worth of revenue in Q3 of 2019. Now, Arkamoto in Q1 of 2020 reported revenue of $616,000, which is similar to their Q3 earnings revenue. But due to the coronavirus hitting the US in Q2 of 2020, Arkamoto had a big drop in their revenue, reporting only $268,000 in revenue for that quarter. So it's good to see their revenue jump back up in Q3 of this year. And hopefully they can keep growing that revenue as we move into Q4 of 2020. Now, if we look at those revenues from a units sold perspective, we can see another positive trend. Arkamoto started manufacturing their Fun Utility vehicle in September of 2019. And from September 2019 through September 2020, they have produced 136 vehicles. But in the most recent month of September, they were actually able to produce 31 vehicles, which is a big jump and a good sign for the company. Now, one thing that I brought up in my previous video as a potential problem for FUV stock is the lack of profitability. And unfortunately, this continues to be a concern for Arkamoto. Despite management reassuring investors that they are close to becoming profitable, Arkamoto still lost roughly $4.6 million in Q3 of 2020. Now, this does sound pretty bad, but I don't think it is something that is insurmountable. For one, Arkamoto currently has $17 million of cash and cash equivalents on hand, which they estimate will last them for at least the next 12 months. Also, Arkamoto is still working closely with Sandy Munro to try and improve the manufacturability of their FUVs. And I personally have high hopes that this partnership will help Arkamoto be able to make their FUVs at a profit. But I am not the only one that feels this way. In fact, management estimates that with the help of Sandy Munro, they will be able to build 50,000 units by 2022, which of course will require them to expand their manufacturing facility. But even with that, management is saying that it is still possible. Now, personally, I think that this is a little ambitious, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens in 2021. But in terms of profitability, management is forecasting that they can become profitable if they can achieve this 50,000 unit production rate. So that will be a milestone to watch if you are an investor in Arkamoto. Now, one additional bonus is that Arkamoto also estimates they can also become profitable if they can sell 3,000 to 5,000 of their higher end FUVs, which would be their Deliverator and Rapid Responder models. And out of the two options, this one honestly sounds much more reasonable to me than trying to ramp up to 50,000 units over the next 2 years, which I think makes sense simply because 50,000 units a year is going to require much larger manufacturing facilities than producing 3,000 to 5,000 units will. And when it comes to Arkamoto's sales of their higher end FUVs, it looks like Arkamoto might be close to making the 3,000 to 5,000 unit number look a lot more realistic. This is because just yesterday, Arkamoto announced a pilot program with the city of Orlando to test their high-end FUVs in 6 different city departments, which is a huge announcement. And it is the reason that Arkamoto stock jumped 69% on that day. The city departments that will be using Arkamoto's FUVs include the Orlando Fire Department, the Police Department, the Code Enforcement Division, the Permitting Services, venues, and parking enforcement, which I would assume each department will use a variant of either the Deliverator or the Rapid Responder for their specific needs. Now, to me, the benefits of the partnership are obvious. If this pilot program goes well, this could signal the start of something big for Arkamoto. Being able to provide a fleet of highly efficient and low-maintenance electric vehicles to cities all over the country could easily turn Arkamoto into a multi-billion-dollar company, and they would almost certainly be profitable at that point. So in my opinion, this is something that needs to go well for Arkamoto, because if it doesn't, or if Orlando determines that the FUVs do not meet their needs, then the stock price could take a big hit. But personally, I have very high hopes for this partnership, and I think that Arkamoto will be able to, at a minimum, prove the effectiveness of their EV platform. Now, like I just mentioned, the other part of Arkamoto's strategy is to try and increase the sales of their lower cost retail FUVs. But unfortunately, they are still a long way off from hitting their 50,000 unit production rate goal. That could change rapidly, but right now Arkamoto is only producing 31 FUVs a month, and their pre-orders are not anywhere close to that 50,000 unit number. As of October 2020, Arkamoto had roughly 4,400 pre-orders for their FUV, and based on older data I found, this is not increasing very quickly. In March of 2019, they had 3,883 pre-orders. So over the last 18 months, they have only managed to add roughly 500 more pre-orders for their FUVs, which is not a good sign. Now, a lot of that weakness can probably be attributed to the coronavirus pandemic, but they do need to get those pre-order numbers up if they want to hit their 50,000 unit goal. Now, one thing that Arkamoto recently announced that I think is a big win is their partnership with DHL to deliver the FUV anywhere in the US. Before this deal, customers had to either physically go to pick up their FUV or pay $1,000 to have it delivered. And even then, delivery was only possible if you lived in a certain state. So having this partnership will be huge for Arkamoto and will help them bring in new customers from all over the US. Also, Arkamoto has dropped the base price of their FUV from $19,999 to $17,999, which will also help entice new customers. And hopefully, if the partnership with Sandy Munro works out, they will be able to reduce that price even further, which I think is what they need to do since $17,999 is still a little high. Also, Arkamoto has updated their website to include a FUV configurator that allows customers to customize their FUV and see what it will look like before they purchase it. And this is not a huge deal, but it is a new vehicle that not many people are familiar with. So letting customers add options and see what their vehicle will look like is really helpful and will result in happier customers. So that is essentially all of the updates on FUV stock, and overall I like the direction that the company is headed in. I think the key points that investors need to be aware of, however, is the current lack of profitability and the low pre-order numbers. But these are things that can change very rapidly. So even though these are big risks right now, choosing to buy the stock at this moment might lead to massive returns if you believe Arkamoto can fix these two issues. And if they can fix these two issues, I estimate that FUV stock should be able to hit $160 to $320 a share in the next 5 to 10 years, which would be a nice return of 1,000 to 2,000%. And it would give them a market cap of between $5 to $10 billion. So in my opinion, that is a potential reward for investors willing to buy FUV stock right now. But personally, I would not go in with too much money since this is still considered a very risky stock. But you'll have to make that decision for yourself. So with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.